talk about the diagram and then how we look at it.
All right, testing. All right, awesome. Thank you everybody for being here, and thank you for the amazing music that we had. Is everybody excited? Yeah. This is the third day. Is everybody excited? Yes. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I mean, congratulations on making it here. I mean, this is what you've been working to all weekend, and it's just, I'm so excited to be here. So excited to have our judges here, and so excited to see what you've been working on this whole weekend. It's gonna be fantastic. So, as usual, I'm going to start off with the boring stuff, okay? The agenda and all that stuff, and then we're going to get into the fun stuff, all right? So, starting off, we're going to have an introduction of judges in a minute, and we're going to then kick into the demos. We'll have what comes next, plus a raffle. Surprise, surprise, it's going to be a raffle. We'll make sure everybody, if you don't have a raffle ticket, we'll make sure you get a raffle ticket in a minute. And then we're going to do awards. Before we go into intro of judges, I do have a couple of things that I wanted to go over in terms of how all of this has come together. We talked a little bit at the beginning, but just wanted to reiterate it. I want to say a special thank you to Integrate, especially for all the support they have. Can we have a round of applause for Integrate? We could not have done this without Integrate. Really, they've been a huge partner for us. AHT, Interco, Bank of America, AWS, can we get a round of applause for them as well? This is not all the food, the swag, yeah, there's going to be more swag. The prizes, I mean, all of this is from them. We have a couple more sponsors as well. We talked about them originally at the beginning of the event. I do have to call out one that I forgot to mention, which is kind of ironic. It's F5. That's my company. My company. The reason why I forgot about it is because they're actually a silent sponsor. F5, we make, I'll say cybersecurity stuff. That's where we're going. But if you're interested in it, let me know. But the reason why I call them a silent partner is what's really cool is that for all of the time I have put in, they've donated cash donations per hour for all the time put into this. So we really could not have done this without F5 and all of our sponsors. But I do have to say special thank you to them because it's my own company. Now, that said, we have a huge number of partners as well. Now, partners are groups that may have not provided necessarily financial sponsorships or in-kind partnerships, but again, we couldn't have done it without them. Space Entrepreneurs Seattle, Space Data Hackers, regular recurring groups, and the Space List and SpaceHappyHour.com, also great support. Make sure, if you haven't heard of these, Google them. Space Happy Hour is a great meetup, and for anybody that's underage, yeah, there's soda and things you can drink too. You don't have to drink beer. And then also in the center there is Space Northwest. Space Northwest is really the foundation behind all of this. And I'm actually going to ask Mike to come up and speak a couple of minutes about Space Northwest, and more importantly, talking about where we go from here. Where you go from here. This does not end today. There is a whole world of opportunities after today. So, Mike, take it away.
Yeah. So I think one thing that y'all probably have been feeling if you're at a NASA hackathon is that the future of humanity points to space. That our destiny is beyond our Earth. We need to go to space to open new frontiers, to preserve our planet, and to bring us together. You've experienced all of this with the challenges that you took on. Think about all the things that NASA put out there and the way that you had to come together to solve the challenges. And the journey requires the best from us. We're bringing you all here together, right? You are just one group in a big world, 300 locations, over 30,000 people went through the same experience you did, and we need every single one of them, right? Wherever we live, whoever we are, our future is space. And who we are? Well, we're in the Pacific Northwest. And Space Northwest believes that the Pacific Northwest has an important, unique role to play, and we're here to maximize it. So we do that by putting on events like this that bring you all together, right? And this is for a lot of you your very first hackathon, right? It's a way for you to engage with NASA data, with space as an endeavor, right? And to keep that going. We also put on a variety of other things. So where do you go from here? Well, as projects, if you become a global nominee, right? And there's two, right? We can send 2 global teams to global. You'll go to the global judging round. And from there's an executive round, and probably in the December timeframe, that's when teams will find out if they've won the top place in one of the 6 categories that NASA has established for global judging. And from there, you get to go to a NASA facility or center for an award ceremony. NASA doesn't pay for the travel or the lodging or anything, but it's really cool. What are we doing beyond that? Well, if you're of an entrepreneurial mindset and you love space, Seattle is the best place in the world to be doing a space startup, because there's such a great startup community, there's a great space community, and we bring these things together, and we put on a Techstars Startup Weekend for Seattle with a space focus, and we'll be doing that in Q1 of next year. This month, you can join our online Space Data Hackers meetup. I know that a bunch of you have already been on that, and that is virtual, right? So you can just pop in last Thursday every month and hear great speakers, nerd out on space data. Keep your projects going, talk about what you're working on, and find people that you can connect with to further your endeavors. The Space Entrepreneurs Meetup, we're planning one for December. That is where you can continue to learn in your space entrepreneurial endeavors, and we're here to support you, help get you connected, and move you on, because it shouldn't stop here, right? The connections that you've made, the projects that you've worked on, the knowledge you've acquired, right, are all super valuable. And like I said, we need the best from all of us. We want to see you keep going, keep going.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, we could not do this without Space Northwest. It really is the foundation of everything that we're doing here, and really hoping and looking forward to seeing more of you at these events. This is a huge community, and there's tons of friends and opportunities out there. Now, one more thing before we go into the judging panel, and I'm intentionally going back because I want to draw special attention to it, is that we could not have had this amazing event without the Mission Acceleration Center and Leaner Startups. So Mission Acceleration Center is where we were upstairs this whole weekend, which was fantastic. We had Joey and Drayden, and then as I think everybody knows, we had a complication come up, and lo and behold, Leaner Startups saved our butts and allowed us to use this space. And not only did they allow us to use the space, they're actually allowing us and throwing for us a happy hour for everybody until 8 o'clock tonight, okay? So there will be virgin drinks. Again, we're not serving alcohol, but there will be drinks, and people are welcome to mingle afterwards as well. So Leaner Startups, 2 folks, if you guys can raise your hands in the back. If you guys have any questions about what Leaner Startups does, feel free to go talk to them. Really, we could not have done this without them. So can I get one more round of applause for Leaner Startups? Thank you. So much. All right, now without further ado, we're going to introduce the judging panel. Now, we sent out the bios for the judging panel, and I hope you all have read them, because we have some amazing talent here, some really amazing talent. And what's cool is that they all bring a really unique perspective. We've talked about that we need engineers, we've talked about that we need data scientists, and all of those are super, super important, but we also need business people, we need artists, we need entrepreneurs, and they all bring a really unique perspective to this. So I'm actually going to hand it off to the judges if they want to go around and just introduce themselves. Let's see if we can get the mic. The mic is on, it's hot, and I'll hand it off to you. Thank you.
Testing. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Andre Perkins. I'm a senior research engineer at the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence. There, I've been working in the realm of improving our simulations of the Earth's climate using machine learning. So kind of in between basic academic research and tech in that space, but doing a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, been in Seattle for 10 years, and I'm very excited to see what you all have in store for us today. Thank you, Andre.
Hi everyone, I'm Evie. I'm a product designer from Seattle. I've been in big tech for about 10 or 15 years designing software products for Microsoft and Adobe. But most recently I was in defense tech working at a little startup called Rebellion Defense, focused on ethical software for the intelligence community in the US and UK. I am a lifelong space enthusiast, and I'm a member of Seattle Space Gals, which is awesome. And I named my daughter after the first woman in space. So, cheers.
Hey everybody, probably sick of me talking at this point. John Ganafay, CEO and co-founder of Integrate, been in the space industry for about 12 years. The space industry brought me up to Seattle, which I'm incredibly grateful for because I love the city, love the startup ecosystem, couldn't have done a lot of things I've been able to do without it, and without people at Space Northwest and others participating. So very, very proud to be on this esteemed panel of judges, and excited to see what everybody's come up with over the weekend.
Hi everybody, you've gotten to know me over the weekend. I'm Nicole Brown. I have had an industry career of about 25 years in aerospace, and the last 6 or 7 specifically in new space commercial sector. I have a consulting company called Omni Group, and I'm a little bit the business piece maybe that Bobby was referring to, because I focus on business development, strategy, sales primarily. So I also come from the data analytics world. I worked closely with Boeing Defense and Space on their analytics and the products and services they've developed from that. And most recently also worked in the Earth observation arena with Explore, right now, which is a local startup, and have additional startup experience, including, I'm happy to say, a successful exit where we were acquired by GE Aviation, which was one of the world's biggest companies at the time. So I'm very pleased to be here with the judging panel and excited to see what you guys did with your weekend.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia Porter. I work at Blue Origin. I've been there for the past 5 years. At first I worked in rocket engine testing, test firing out in West Texas, very loud, very noisy, a lot of fun. And I've been in Seattle for the last year where I'm doing more of a project management focal, also for rocket engines within Blue Origin. So I manage some parts of our customer relationships and some parts of our labor and budget planning and kind of overall business operations. It's been a really exciting opportunity to learn from a high level how we manage a huge, very complex technical development and production program. So I'm just stoked to see all of your faces here and to know that you're all working so hard to contribute to the success of the space industry and ultimately to benefit humanity. Really glad to be here and excited to see what you have to share. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us. We're so excited to have you, and so excited to see what we have in store. So with that, a couple more slides, but don't worry, this is where it gets fun and exciting. The awards again are the best use of data, best use of technology, best mission concept, and most inspirational hack. Best use of data is exactly what it sounds like, the one that used the best data, the one that best incorporated data into the project. Best use of technology, that could be any form of technology. It's okay if you don't have breadboards, it could be ideas of how technology would be used. Best mission concept is potentially one that is the long-term most viable, one that has the longest legs perhaps. The most inspirational hack is actually what it sounds like. Which one makes us most excited? All of these are fantastic awards, and we're really excited to see what happens this afternoon. And then the other thing I have here is, again, some projects will be selected to go to global judging. It says 1, and it's actually 2. And the reason why it's 2 is because we had so many people show up, we're actually able to submit more than we thought we were going to be able to. And I forgot to update the slide. So thank you everybody for showing up and the fact that we can submit 2 teams to global judging. You are not required to win a local award in order to be eligible to submit to global judging. The global judging will be determined later this week after local awards are awarded. So stay tuned for information on that. Last thing I want to go over really quickly is prizes. I said that there was not just the cool awards. We have these amazing plaques that were made by Seattle makers and designed by my sister-in-law. We have actual prizes too. So we have discounted certificates for classes at Seattle makers. One team will get those. Or a couple teams will get those actually, potentially. We have 1-year subscriptions to Wolfram One Personal Edition, some awesome tools online with Wolfram. Ada's $50 gift certificate to go hang out, and if you've never been to Ada's, check it out. Technical Books and Cafe, I mean, like, come on. What else is better than technical books and coffee and pastries, right? And then tickets to the Museum of Light. All of these prizes are intended to get your team back together again, right? We're not just sending you cool things to go do alone in the future. We want you to use these prizes to get back together and continue your hacks or come up with new ones. So all that said, are we ready for presentations? Alrighty. So I am going to unplug my computer and call up ACTV. You're up first. We're going in alphabetical order. ACTV is up first, and then as a heads up, Tech on Titan will be up after that. So ACTV, come on up.
It's at in tech, so it says it was like last minute decided. I was like, it's so silly. So I was like, but I didn't think it would be vocalized.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Connor. This is Vic. And sitting in the crowd back here are other 2 group members, Anthony and Ty. And we chose the challenge, Mapping Data for Societal Benefit. We came into this hackathon wanting to look at how we can solve a problem with NASA's data that maybe hasn't even been looked at before. We started out by looking into agriculture, and we specifically landed on the relationship between pollinators like bees, butterflies, bats, and birds, and how they relate to and what the relationship is with flowering plants like any type of fruit tree, etc. And you can go to the next slide, Lily. There's an issue arising with climate change where pollinators like that you see on screen and these flowering plants are not active at the same times, which is leading to lower yields in farmers' products. And these products are, well, about 10% of global food supply. So you can imagine how a 30% yield loss in 10% of the world's food supply could be a problem. What we wanted to address is, well, how can we use NASA's data to make predictions about what this difference would look like in order to help agriculturists and farmers prepare accurately for what those differences might look like. You can go ahead to the next slide. We already know that NASA has a ton of available data on climate change. There's data on precipitation, crop cover, ground temperature, etc. All that directly leads to information we already know about how pollinators and pollinating plants are affected. And when we were going through this project, we kind of ran into an issue. We wanted to tie this data with data about pollinating plants and pollinators and identify what the relationship is. Maybe make some calculations that we could directly give to farmers in their local area and make those predictions already for them. What we ran into is that the data on pollinating plants and pollinators doesn't really exist, or if it does, it's in a hyper-focused area, or it's in a long time spent in a hyper-focused area, or the data isn't really usable for the purpose that we want it to. You can head over to the next slide. This is where our application and service, Climate Bloom, comes into play. We wanted to originally create a service that would help make predictions immediately in a location. But what we discovered is that this data that we want to make the predictions with doesn't really exist. So we wanted to let agriculturists, farmers, anyone who can collect this data, input it, and based on the data that NASA already has available on climate change, we would be able to make some rough, immediate predictions about what's going to happen in the future to help them prepare. But also, we want to collect data like this so that we can help more people in the future, whether it's to do research or to provide more accurate predictions about what we're studying. Creating this data set would be useful in general for a larger audience about purposes that we haven't even thought of yet. So as an overview, this app would let you put in a location, it would let you input data so that you can receive benefits back, and you can also support other people in their research, whether it be something like this, where we're just predicting outcomes for other people to use, or if it's some other kind of research regarding a similar subject. And that's
All right, so now, judges, you have 1 minute for questions.
Is there? Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I guess pivot to see that you were missing data and like how to get it. Do you have an idea of what kind of exact information about the pollinators would be most useful for the predictions you wanted to make? Or
Yeah.
like, yeah, just expand on that.
Yeah, so originally the data that we were going to look for is, we already have a lot of the climate-related data from NASA directly from satellites. The data that we're missing specifically is where are the pollinators and how much activity are we looking at? This is the graph that we were originally thinking of trying to output, which is when are the pollinators active? That would be a lot more detailed specifically, because there's a lot of different types at different times. And the same goes for the flowering plants. But we wanted to look at generally what's the timeline for these and are they overlapping or not? And that would be determined by NASA's satellite data and how it relates to specifically, gathering that data. We just don't know what the relationship is, like numerically yet, between NASA's data and that data. But we would need, what is the activity level and how much is it correlated at specific times? Is there any other?
Can I just clarify, the NASA data you mentioned, where was the source of additional data? Was that, did you say you were getting that from the farmers? Where did you say you were getting the additional data?
Yeah, so our original idea was to have that data available already to us. So we wanted to have the data inputted by people who would, in theory, use this app to gain the information back. At first, this project would probably primarily not really be beneficial to the people using it, because they're going to be inputting the data. We would hope to act on it later to make those predictions. So anyone who has access to it, whether that be a farmer who has a flowering plant farm, or anyone who can just go out and see that in nature, whatever it be, there would need to be some kind of initial data that we need to get it going. But where that comes from would just be someone who maybe sees this and would be able to realize that it does have some value in the future.
Excellent job, ACTV. And I also want to give a particular, go ahead, come on up, at Tech on Titan, go ahead and come on up. I want to give a particular shout out for ACTV for being the first group out of 11 to go. Nobody wants to be first to go, right? So congratulations to ACTV for coming up. I'm going to do, while at Tech on Titan is setting up, I'm going to do one quick reminder of the forum and the format. We already discussed it, but I want to just do a quick reminder. You get 4 minutes to pitch. I will be timing you, okay? I will give you a 2-minute marker. I'll give you a 2-minute marker and a 1-minute marker. If you don't want to look at them, that's fine. Don't stare at me, but I'll make it obvious. Connor was smart enough to figure it out without me telling him that was going to happen, so thank you. And then judges get 1 minute of questions. Judges get 1 minute of questions and response, if that makes sense. Awesome. So with that said, I'm going to hand it off to at Tech on Titan.
Hello, everybody. This is our team at Tech on Titan. The name is a little silly. It's a play on words with the show. Today, our challenge here is on Ocean's Garden, and it's towards people who don't really know anything about the ocean at all. So if there were inhabitants who benefits off of the service of the oceans, they sometimes are not very rare, and we want to educate those who do. And about us, so my name is Kayla. Here we have Avante, Gio, Era, and one of our crowd, member in the crowd is Mario. And we worked on this to find solutions using accessible data and information, implementing on a website. And we have a quick demo for you guys over here.
Yeah, so this is our website. Thank you. This is our website, and the primary focus is to obviously educate people about the ocean. And so we have some pre-made talks in here that are going to serve as the bases. And our goal is to make this more interactive, so it's more user-friendly to all ages and people of all reading levels. That is the base, and obviously memory retention of this is very important, and that's why we set up a quiz tab where users can go through it, and it will score you at the end. As you progress, we hope that you become better, and with the help of APIs and AI, we hopefully can make this better. And then we also want to grow a community on here. So as you can see, I can ask questions on here, like what is H2O, and grow a community that can comment and question everything that they want to know about the ocean, and have bigger companies also contribute to this. And yeah, so the homepage leads you to all this information as well as the nav bar on top.
So accessibility is a big thing with this project. We really want to tie it back to the solution of trying to educate everybody. And one of the features that we wanted to integrate into our plan, which we weren't able to due to time and also experience as well, to be quite frank. Here's a quick demo, which is called an interactive picture. So with one of the topics, for example, which was about marine ecosystem, it would talk a lot more about the context of things. But a lot of people, they may not have a good grasp on reading. Perhaps that is, we can use pictures. Visually wise, one of at least my favorite ways is to look at pictures. And here we have a quick demo on if we have an overview of a picture of an ecosystem. You can select on one of the objects that's listed here. It then leads onto a pop-up. And one of the pop-ups would usually have some sort of fact. So this one here is a great white shark. It says to be an apex predator, and it helps maintain the control of the population. And with that in mind, it allows readers to understand a little bit more about the ocean, whether it be the nuances or just a big picture overall. And one of another feature that we wanted to implement was the interactive map. Here we have just an overview of all of our oceans, our very lovely oceans. And if we were to click on selection of one of the oceans, say the Pacific Ocean, we would have a character that we could drop into one of the oceans, say a starfish here. And when we click on it, it will pop up a little fun fact about it. While these are randomly generated, it's also generated based on the zone that it's been dropped in. So for example, it was closer to the coastal line, it might bring up an intertidal zone, or it might bring up some sort of sea life that maintains to the shore. Or if it's more far out, then it might can talk about somehow the moon is interacting with the tidal waves. With that in mind, we want to have these interactive features so that users are able to find another way to engage and also learn again. Because sometimes reading is really boring, and we don't want to read all the time. And then with that in mind, we just have this. This is a timeline for future development. And while we have a lot of great ideas, we also don't have a lot of great time. But realistically speaking, if we were to work in a couple of weeks, we would love to have keywords and implementation of search texting. So for that in mind, when we read a lot of pages of textbooks, it's an abundance of words that can be really confusing. And if we were to refer back to a text, for example, a key term like shoreline, we could easily highlight that and have a hover bar to show a definition. And there are more features that we would love to implement later on. That is all for today. Thank you.
Any questions from the judges or
Thank you so much for your demo today. I'm curious about the benefits to humanity for people learning about the ocean. If this project were successfully implemented at the scale that your timeline showed, how do you think everyone would benefit?
It's really coming back to how the Earth is our planet, and it's the only one that we have right now that's kind of the most important one. And sustaining that is the biggest mission for us, because there's a lot of things going on, like ocean acidification, trash going into it, and so we feel like the more that the people know about the ocean and more information is widespread to people of all age groups, the more that we can help to sustain the Earth and prolong our time here while we find solutions in space.
Thank you again for your project. I'm curious about the accessibility standards aspect that you mentioned. Can you tell me a little more about the research that you did to support your presentation?
So yeah, accessibility wise, we want to make it more available to all ages, and because right now it's more about like a high school to college reading level, and so if we progress, we would like to make it accessible to the people, kids as well as older generations, and that's kind of the goal, as well as like possibly implementing API strategies to like make more interactive quizzes or the maps that Kayla talked about, just to get big ideas across.
And just as a follow-up, did you have a chance to dive into any like web standards or product standards as far as accessibility goes?
We didn't have time or the knowledge to really go into that, and we hope to continue upon the space that we created.
Excellent job. Thank you so much. All right, if we can have Exospace come up, and apologies, I did not get you guys how on deck, but Exospace is coming up, and then Flame Sabers, you will be after Exospace. So Flame Sabers, you're on deck. Exospace, come on up and plug in your computer. Thank you.
Hey there. Hello, my fellow hackers. How are you doing? All right. Awesome. I like the vibe in this house. Okay, let me start with a philosophical question. Have you ever wondered if we're alone in the universe? Have you ever want to go to a place where no man has gone before? Well, if you know this gesture, okay, just give me some response. Yes, of course. So yeah, I believe we all have. So Exospace is a team of the top-notch AR/VR designers, developers, and also storytellers. We are very passionate about exploring the habitable exoplanet for the future of human race, and also we want to educate the public to cherish our own planet, the Earth. All right? So here we go. So you may ask me why the exoplanet is so important to us. Curiosity, loneliness, or simply just the passion for discovery? I would say all of them. Finding an exoplanet that holds some sort of life form is very important to us because that could lead to a potential habitants for us and also change the course of the entire human race. We also change the course of the entire human race. But the physical property of all these exoplanets is going to be very different from the Earth. Temperature, humidity, especially the high-level radiation that exists our own existence every single second. But guess what? A rendezvous of an exoplanet and also the Earth-based fungi that was carried by the cosmic wind have just happened. A fungi actually is a perfect firm under the high-level radiation because it can resist all these radioactive power, and also they thrive. They actually outgrow their counterparts on the Earth because of this low gravity on the exoplanets, and also spread out the entire planet, create this beautiful and esoteric landscape that will, of its own firm. So then I will introduce Anna.
Yeah, so as we were designing our story and our planet, you already see these beautiful machine learning renderings. That was part of our process. We also used a design thinking and data-driven idea of looking at the NASA data set of Strange New Worlds, their existing exoplanets. And so based on that, we looked for an existing habitable planet. having found none, but a lot of interesting ones, we then used our thought experiment of this spore plus bacterium combination that then basically makes a beautiful forest of giant mushrooms towering around you, full of humidity and a specific gravitational force and whatnot. So we really dialed in our specific planet. Go to the next one. And so we did all of the calculations to figure out, how we need the low gravity to make these giant mushrooms, for example, humidity, and we're in the Goldilocks zone away from that local star solar system. And but the question of radiation remains.
All right. So then we're introducing Exotopia, our mushroom planet. So we basically built a virtual reality environment. Kira, can you go to the site? Yes. So we want people to experience this, exoplanet in the first-person perspective. You can see all these beautiful, gigantic mushrooms, beautiful landscape, and a water body, and also a moon, which is very, very important to all the firm of life on the planet because it moderates the rotation of the planet and create a more stable climate. Also, we are going to have a website with more details and also a GitHub repo with all the source code. In the future, we plan to make this world more interactive with adding more living creatures, maybe some residential sites here as well. But let's face it, human, we are not going to survive in this planet because of this super extreme environmental condition. So that's exactly the reason why we should protect and feel grateful for our own home, the Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Judges, 1 minute to ask questions.
Where did the research come from for fungi being responsive to radiation specifically?
Yeah, so one of our previous slides we found, if you don't mind going there, can y'all, oh, very good, on the sweet spot. If you can go back, we found a couple bacterium and so a specific bacterium and fungal spores that can survive high intensity radiation and space as well. Did I get
So there are two research about fungus and also bacteria. The one researcher master about fungus can explore space. Then one more is from ISS. ISS when the bacteria got radiation effect, but still survive something. Just both the theory bacteria can explore from planet to other planet. So we look the concept for this planet.
Yeah, just one clarification. So is this was this planet seeded by fungi that we know, or is it developed naturally on the planet itself and is some kind of fungi-like?
Yeah, as I mentioned, there's a rendezvous, from this Earth-based fungi that was carried by the cosmic wind, and then it will carry this fungi to this planet, and they thrive there because they have the natural resources that fuel their growth. So that's our assumption in this project. Yep.
Thank you. Great job, guys. Really cool. Really enjoyed that. Flame Savers, you are up. Flame Savers is up. And Goofy Odd Productions, you're on deck. Goofy Odd Productions, you're on deck.
We did way better than like their first try.
Okay. Hello everybody. Assalamu alaikum to the brothers and sisters I've met this weekend. Hi judges. Our team name is the Flame Savers, and we're a group of college students in Seattle, mix of tech and business backgrounds, and the business challenge we chose was managing fire. So the last group brought up a really important problem. When you look out at our planet from Earth, there's only one of us, and we just do our best. Like the captain astronaut, Wendy Lawrence, yesterday said it beautifully, our Earth is very fragile, and it's burning, and we need to make sure the fire data that we have is accurate, it's true. And so our idea is to improve our fire modeling, especially through bringing together human resources.
So currently NASA has a database called FIRMS, which uses satellites with infrared sensors to actually detect heat spots on the face of the Earth. And with a couple other variables, it determines if those heat spots are a wildland fire, for example. And so really think about it, is this truly enough to determine if there is a fire on Earth? My team and I believe that there needs to be more variables with this determination. We need to add more components to the way we detect these fires. So if we use firms to send first responders out to a supposed fire, and there ends up actually not being a fire, it causes a waste of resources and potentially lives lost if there is a real fire in elsewhere and resources are spread out. And so how can we improve this system to better detect fires?
So yeah, we took a look to see how we can improve the existing model by adding more features to it. And we thought about, okay, what features would be important and relevant to a fire. We were like, okay, weather, rainfall, land tide, probably elevation. Those are all the elements that could help out to detect fire. And also, another thing is how, let's say it tells us there's a fire, how we can verify that there was actually a fire. So we went and kind of made this SMS app that it can see a fire, it can find where it is, and it can send an SMS message to the people at that location and ask them, hey, is there a fire here or not? And take their input and average it out. And if it's like, let's say there's over 50% people say yes, we detect the fire, the model that we made will take that into account, and over time it will fine tune itself and become more accurate. And the goal is to get it to a point that our local resources can depend on it, to a point that they can just look at this and know that there's a high chance that the fire detected is real, and they can deploy their resources to it.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how it's going to benefit us. So first of all, our model will be super fast and more accurate than NASA firm data. On the other hand, local agencies will have better resources. We are going to update all those data after we after we use the model. Yeah, and for our future steps, collaborating with local governments, like a fire department or state parks. Flame savers.
I don't know why I gave you the mic. Any questions?
Hi, thanks for your work on this. It's definitely really important. We experience it a lot here in the Pacific Northwest. Can you just clarify a little bit about your data sources? I think you mentioned the NASA data source, and then was the other one?
Yeah, we basically. Oh, sorry. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So we got in the NASA firms data, which basically is what the satellite sees, right? And we also, when there was this Python weather API, and you could just drop in your, latitude and longitude, and it will give you all the weather information you need, like the humidity, the rainfall, the, is it cloudy or, type of environment you're in. So we took those information in as well through I think the website's name is Open Weather. So.
Sorry, just to clarify,
Yeah.
are you also relying on data from the people on the site?
Yes. Yes. So that's the last column comes in. So for our model, because we couldn't have access to that, we just made synthetic data, so to simulate that. But in a real world scenario, we will probably aggregate all the responses, and it will just get a mean of it and apply it.
I have a question. As someone who spends a lot of time in the mountains, I can imagine if I got a text like the example one that you showed, I might actually be a little worried for my own safety. Do you have any ideas about how you would then help someone like me who's potentially reporting a fire or not seeing it but know that there might be one in the vicinity to make sure that I'm staying safe too?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this question. Yassine talked about it at the end. One of our assumptions was not everyone will have service to use the SMS thing. And he talked about state parks. Whenever you go on a long hike or trail, you let the state park know where you're at, what trail you're going on, and they kind of make sure you're okay. And so our communication channel is through the state park to talk to you, to tell you that there's a fire nearby and how confident we are. And you're kind of in the middle of it. Get out. Yeah. Oh, another question. What was that? Yeah, what separates our system from the Amber Alert system? Do you guys have?
Yeah, I guess Amber Alert is a system trying to warn you. Our goal is to improve our model, so it's not just a one-way, channel to say, hey, there's a fire, get out. It's more of we're trying to verify our data that NASA gives us, and we're trying to improve the existing model so we make sure in the future, by the responses we get from the people on site, to make sure that our model is more accurate in predicting in the future. So the local government could depend on it more heavily.
Thank you. Goofy Productions, you are up. Goofy Productions. And let's see who's on deck. Greenhouse. Greenhouse is on deck. So Goofy Productions, come on up, and Greenhouse is on deck.
Alright, we are Goofy Productions. I'm Safwan Hassan, this is Cheyenne Hawk, that's Zuhair Ayn, and that's Muntasir Nahian, and our project is Labio, Next Gen Geospatial Solutions. So this is what we're going to talk about in our presentation today. Some facts about us is that we are some stupidly passionate high school students. I have a math test on Monday. I'm only like halfway done studying for it, and it's like a pretty big unit. But like I'm here because, and we're all here because of our collective passion for the world of AI and coding. You might be asking, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Well, researchers face challenges in developing accurate and effective AI models for geospatial analytics, especially when the availability of labeled data is limited. Without an adequate GeoAI model, our world lacks effective preventative measures for natural and man-made disasters. And without such models, the amount of preventable casualties and damages will continue to rise, leaving our communities vulnerable and our response efforts less effective.
So to solve that problem, we created Labio, a five-model program that uses multiple models and data points to accurately analyze and give a proper response. So starting off with L, land-based cover classification. What this does is that just classifies what land cover it is, and then we try to see what is that land cover more prone to. Anomalous environment detection. We use anomaly detection methods to figure out what is anomalous about that certain region and that type of land cover to see if that area is a high risk of environmental disaster. Building and urban object detection, just identifying buildings and objects, building in urban areas for areas of risk. Image similarity to identify change within time, and also to identify out of ordinary spots. And then finally, optimized sentinel models made by NASA that we use to confirm our results. So a few statistics on our Labio system. It is 87% more accurate than a single model approach, because our models are specialized on different environmental factors, and unlike a single model that has to be generalized over multiple factors. 2 second faster 2 second faster inference time when you simultaneously run all the models, and this could be really helpful because then it can inference the entire world's data in a significantly less amount of time. And finally, a 99.8% recall rate, meaning that almost every single, actually practically every single red flag that is found will be identified and reported.
So now that you've heard Cheyenne talk about Labio, let's see Labio in action. So first of all, Labio said that this image right here from our demo is grassland and road, which you can see in the image. It's at the anomaly detection percentage is 34%, which can be seen with the yellow bushes around the image. There's 2 buildings, which you can see at the top right. It has an 86% image similarity to an image of the same place from the 1990s. And finally, our Sentinel model it says that this is a minimal threat. So tying it all together, this environment has a minimal disaster risk, but it has changed a little bit over time. Okay, so this is just our raw output data, and we got our data from USGS, NASA, ECA, Google Earth, ETC, etc.
How are we going to implement this into the real world? So we're targeting government agencies like, let's say, First Aid, and they already have their own infrastructure. So when we made Labio, it's like, why do we have to make a new infrastructure? So we made it as more of a methodology, and we're going to implement it into the existing structures there. It's ready to go, and it's very adaptive. 1 second out there is enough for your life to be decided. With Labio, we can take care of that 1 second. With Labio, we can empower our communities and make them more prepared. At Goofy Out Productions, we're not just telling stories, we're changing lives.
Do you have anything to back up the data, 86% and 99.8%?
Yeah. So the recall rates were just from our models. When we gave it test data, we used over 1,500 images for the test data for 99.8%, right? And the 87%, so we actually created over 7 models, right? And so one of our models was a test model, and the other 6 were, one of them was Sentinel, so NASA's model, and then the 5 other we trained by ourselves. So when we combined those 6 models together and ran images through there against the a single model that we created, and that single model that we created wasn't really what we created. We actually optimized it from another source, from European Space Agency. So when we ran it comparative against and see the true positive rates and the true false negative rates in the F1 scores, it came out to be 87% and more accurate. Yeah.
Who do you anticipate would be the primary users of your application, and how would they respond to the results?
Yeah, so my friend Ayn over here mentioned that it would be for first responders and for government agencies, right, to implement into their existing infrastructure, because we see no use in making a new infrastructure. We want to implement this system as fast as possible for first aid responders and government agencies. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Greenhouse, you are up. Greenhouse, you are up. And then Lunar Solo Explorer. Lunar Solo Explorer, you are on deck as up next.
Bobby, can we have a short break before?
You guys want a break?
It's like 3
Let's go.
Climate change is beyond our cities.
Beyond our skies, but not beyond our responsibility. Hi, we're Project Greenhouse, and we're here to educate you and protect the environment. I'm Evan.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Zoe. And here's the rest of our team. So, Scott, can you tell me more about the EMIT project?
Yeah, EMIT is a hyperspectral sensor on board the ISS that analyzes dust clouds and greenhouse gas emissions.
That sounds really cool. So our goal with this project was to create like a high-level web app where you can experience the data yourself and learn how to use the scientific data.
So our goal was to reach underrepresented communities and make this data that is very complex more streamlined and simplified for greater accessibility.
Thank you, Zoe. Okay, so let's get into the demo. Thank you. So here's our high-level overview. And we can see we have our coverage data, and this is the data we were interested in. This is the methane point source emission data. And have you ever needed to know shell scripting to download something from a website? This guy knows. But I've never experienced that before. So this is one example of the data we collected, and there are 600 of these. And so it was arduous, and we made this Python script to pre-process the data so that anyone can go to our web app and download the data in this tabular form and get playing with it. So we also have links to Google Colab resources so that you can play with that data too. Scott, can you tell me what can I do to fight climate change?
Yeah, so if you go to our EcoHacks page, you can see a list of different things, just like little examples of what you can do on an individual level. But if you really want to make an impact, it's good to get in a group of 100, even 1,000 people, and you can see that the average American emits 15 metric tons of CO2 each year. And if you follow some of these guidelines, you can decrease that to as little as 5. So you can imagine the impact of if hundreds of, even thousands of people do this. You can stop hundreds of yeah, from 15 metric tons to 5. You can, yeah.
That's awesome. How can I connect with my community to fight climate change?
Yeah, so on our action page, you can enter a city and state like Boston, Massachusetts, and when you go there, you can see local environmental nonprofits that you can sign up for to help your environment.
Cool. Zoe, do you have anything to add?
Absolutely, thank you, Evan. So I'm actually from Boston, Massachusetts, and how this is really important because that's my community, that's my family. So how does the environment impact you, your community, and your family? So according to the Environmental Protection Agency, which we referenced a lot, environmental justice is the fair treatment, meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income. And those are typically groups that those are typically divisions that get targeted when it comes to the hoarding of like wealth and other things. So they'll end up with like lacks of resources and inhumane living conditions in those areas. So we aim to bring more education, accessibility to those groups. So at the bottom we have a violation, which is easily accessible for all. And you can easily use this aggregated data, and you can put it into the report violation. So. And we also added bilingual language because Spanish is the second most spoken language in the planet. So, como el medio ambiente afecta a ti, tu comunidad y tu familia. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that presentation. So you found a way to take somewhat arcane data and provide it in a more usable way. Did you think about any ways of how to integrate that in with your finding a local community and how you might use that local data to inform people in their own area?
Absolutely. That was one of the things we were like trying to streamline it. As we said, it was complex data. The average user isn't like a NASA scientist and aren't going to be able to read it. So we wanted to essentially make it where you can grab it, compare, and then like take all those data points and you inform yourself by like, okay, there's a plume here. There's an environmental protection agency here. Somebody's violating something. You can use these data. You can use these statistics to help build yourself a battle. And we're like essentially trying to educate those people who are usually underrepresented, and I believe that it is very, beneficial for fighting that case. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick, go ahead, come up and set up. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break. If you need to run and go get some water, get a drink or something. Again, the only reason we have to do this is because we have 11 freaking teams. How awesome is that? How awesome is that? So we will get started in 3 minutes.
So were you guys ever able to find monolith?
This is just me. You'll see how far.
That was that big magnet.
Okay, come on back and grab your seats. We'll start here in just a minute. Okay, I think we're almost ready to get started. So just a reminder, up right now we have Lunar Solo Explorer, Moonquake Explorer, okay? And then up next we have Moon Globe. So Moon Globe, you are on deck. Moon Globe, you are on deck.
Hi everyone, my name is Stuart Volkerman and I'm with Lunar Solo Explorer. That's my team. The project name is Moonquake Explorer. And just a quick little back history or information on seismic activity for anyone who doesn't know. Moonquakes present a fascinating yet poorly understood phenomenon on the lunar surface. They're basically like, a great way to describe them would be like earthquakes on the moon, except they're caused by gravitational forces. You can't hear me? Hold the mic up closer. There we go. Can you hear me better? There we go. Okay. Quick background. I think we'll just skip over here. Where was that there? Quick little history on what seismic activity is. Seismic activity is just like earthquakes on the moon. These earthquakes are caused by gravitational forces rather than the forces that we have here on Earth. Understanding moonquakes is crucial for planning future manned and unmanned missions to the moon. Lunar seismic data can unveil the secrets about the moon's interior and aid in the future of exploration of lunar resources. And the Moonquake Explorer project directly addresses the challenge by providing a solution for monitoring and visualizing seismic data activity. And so here's just a quick little demo of what I was able to throw together. Please keep in mind that this is me working by myself. I've never had much experience doing a web app. I have some Python background and C++, but this is my first time using the Django framework. I'm learning about it and working with 3JS. Ideally, the Moon would, once you hit that get data button, would have plotted the seismic data for that year and day that was entered, and you would have seen those points. This shapes the future of lunar exploration because it can help advance global lunar science with valuable insights into the moon's internal dynamics. It enhances mission planning for future lunar exploration, ensuring safety and success. It aids in identifying lunar resources and contributing to future resource utilization. It addresses the challenge of limited lunar seismic data for comprehensive monitoring. It contributes to mission safety by providing critical seismic data for risk assessment and inspires future exploration and fosters global collaboration in lunar research. Here's just a little bit of my scientific validity that I used, some of my sources that I pulled my data from, and resources, that's my resources right there. The data does adhere to the industry standards for seismic data interpretation. Again, some challenges that I faced along the way was we had a short time frame for this hackathon. Literally less than a day and a half. I know everyone faced that challenge. I was learning Django and 3JS on the fly. I had lost my laptop charger literally yesterday morning, so as you see, I got a little INEO gaming device to do my presentation on right now because I had no other option, but I wasn't going to give up in my project by any means, and I was going to keep pushing through and working till the end. So here I am today. And I'm really proud of what I did accomplish in the short time that I was able to do my project, and so that's why I'm up here today presenting it to you guys. Obviously, in the future, the project could be improved by actually plotting in that seismic data based on the time coordinates, or based on the time that was entered, the day and year, and the project could be further expanded from there. Again, a team of one, I was only able to do so much. This is me. Thank you so much.
Two questions from the judges.
Thank you again for that presentation. I was curious if you did get a chance to map some of the data and just have a look at what the moonquakes looked like. Were they geographically kind of dispersed or all concentrated?
So I got my data actually imported in last night, but by the time I had fixed the visualization of my 3D model and was able to actually play and interact with it and add in the functions for the day and year, and had brought in my data into folders, it was 2:30 in the morning and I was ready to go to bed. I woke up at 8 this morning, did finishing touches on my code to make it look somewhat presentable, and then I went ahead and threw this presentation together, and that was that. So.
First, I want to congratulate you for your perseverance. I watched you all weekend long, and I saw the grit that you had, so that will get you through a lot in your life. Congratulations for hanging in there.
Thank you.
Have you thought about what your next steps would be? Do you have an idea of where you would like to take the application as you move forward?
Yeah, I want to just continue on with the general project guidelines that were posted, and again, just following through and getting the seismic data that is currently available plotted. I could see in the future it would be really fun if I could get some sort of an AI model to possibly analyze the data from the start to the end, and see if it can start making predictions on future seismic events, and see if that data ends up becoming accurate. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Those are at least my future plans for the project. I mean, I definitely don't plan to stop working on it after today even. It will be something you guys can all find on my GitHub one day. So.
Thank you very much, Solo Lunar Explorer. Moon Globe, you are up. Moon Globe is up, and NASA in the Hood is on deck. NASA in the Hood is on deck.
I thought you were gonna die. Check.
Just one moment. Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Sebastian Rios. This is my crew, Vladimir, Sinri, Zane, and Rico. So first off, I'd like to say a shout out to Stuart back there for working this by himself. That's a one-man army. We could not have done this by ourselves. We barely made it by, so I can imagine, Stuart, you're a trooper. The project that we chose was the same one as him. It's the Moonquake Map 2.0. So, none of you can probably understand this by looking at it, unless you did something similar. Okay, he can. It's essentially a mess, right? And that's the problem we ran into, where it's extremely messy, hard to understand, and you can't really do anything with it. So the solution that we came up with was creating something similar to what he did. It was a web app that was essentially helped us visualize that information that we had. And it basically created like a 3D globe of the moon. And so I'm gonna pass this off to Vladimir, who's gonna help us understand the benefits.
All right, so the impacts of mapping this moon data into a web app is to make it much more accessible for the general public, but especially to younger audiences who are curious about what NASA's doing on the moon and what that data means. Like when they get data, what does it mean? Why do they need it? So by visualizing it for them, it's gonna help them understand what NASA's doing and help them to actually gain more curiosity and to possibly get involved in what NASA's doing and to get involved in stuff like this event's right here. So if we go to the next slide, we have this link live, so you can actually pull out your phone, scan this QR code, and you're gonna pull it up like anyone would do because you are our target audience. And so for those of you who either don't want to or have technical difficulties, we're gonna pull it up on the screen, and Sinri is gonna give you a demo of our app.
Okay, thanks guys. I'm gonna give you like a few more seconds here to pull it up, and then I'm gonna move it over. Let's go through here. Okay, so we ingested historical data from the Apollo Seismic Event Catalog. This data is all between the years of 1969 and 1977, I believe. As you can see, it's a fully interactive 3D map, and if you zoom in here, we also have some of the Apollo lunar modules and their various locations on the map. As we move through time here, you can sort of see the seismic events that we were able to capture from the data. As you can see, some of them are small and some of them are quite large. And this sort of references the different types of moonquakes that actually exist. So there's meteorite impacts, there's deep moonquakes, there's shallow moonquakes, and there's really a large variety of data. And we're just hoping that by visualizing the data in this way, we're able to make it more accessible for the average user. So we invite you to play around with this data yourself and sort of experience in a more fun and friendly way.
And so just to quickly go over what we plan to do in the future with this project is here you can turn on a roughness map of the moon. And so we have different maps like topography and I believe soil makeup. And so what we want to do is lay over the map of, let's say, the topography and see like, okay, at these slopes, if there is a moonquake, it's more prone to earthquakes, or avalanches, so a lunar module may be a bit more dangerous. So that's one thing we plan to implement into the future.
Thank you, Vladimir. So right now, our plan so far is we already made something for the moon. We were hoping that in the future we could do something for every other entity in the solar system, such as planets, their moons, whatever else could come with it. But that requires data that's collected from modern satellites, and hopefully in the future we can put that in like NASA apps that map out there. And so that's the general direction we're looking. Thank you for 240 seconds of glory.
Any questions from the judges?
Thank you for that. I really like this presentation. You mentioned that it was primarily for younger generations. missions to inspire, but are you thinking about how this could be useful to actual missions to the moon?
Yeah, so that's one thing we kind of decided not to add into the presentation immediately, but I'm glad you brought that question up, is that missions such as Artemis 2 that are going to be going to the moon, they have limited resources, and so with these limited resources, things like moonquakes are not good, like I'm sure you can understand. So when Artemis 2 is going to the moon, they need to make sure they're planning for everything, and including for these moonquakes. And so though NASA already has this data, maybe they could use our visualization tool to really have a better understanding of, okay, if we land in this area, it's a bit more prone to moonquakes. And like I said, if we add that topography map, well, we can see here's a steep slope. If there were a moonquake, it's really steep, so all this soil might cover up, it's called soil liquefaction, where these particles kind of behave like liquid, so it might just swallow up lunar rovers. So there's the selling point in that it's both for the public, but there is also industrial use for these things, such as the Artemis 2 mission.
This is just a quick comment. I had to look up the quote, but it's tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may remember, and involve me and I'll understand. Really great job with that. That drove the point home very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Alrighty, next up we have, I think they're already heading up. Yep, come on up. I'm just trying to make sure I got NASA in the hood, and then CZ Data, you are on deck. So NASA in the hood is coming up, and then CZ Data, you are on deck.
Check, mic check. Nice.
So we're the only group with the HDMI connection today. We're special. Okay, we are NASA in the hood, and our Space Apps Challenge is NASA in your neighborhood. So to answer the question of how humans are related to their environments, we chose to look at heat map data. What we did is to use a white paper to present our data, and then created a website to propose our solution. So with that, Portland, Oregon, where I'm from, experienced its hottest summer on record in June of 2021. Temperatures reached 116 degrees from the 26th to the 28th of June. The result, fatalities. If you look at this map, the areas in blue are where the most people died as a result of the heat. Commit that to memory. Let's overlay that with a heat map of that general area. Look at the areas in red, what we call the heat islands or the hood. Those are the hottest areas in the Portland metro area, and also the places where there were the most deaths. Heat disparities from cool to hot was more than 11 degrees. Facts. Overlay that with a map of vegetation, tree canopy in the Portland metro area. What you'll notice as well, in relation to the heat map, areas with less trees are hotter, and as a result, more deaths is what it is. So, what is our point? First of all, awareness and education. The more aware that heat is deadly, it will cease all the deaths and create stability for those communities to be able to propose solutions that are more longer term, more sustainable. A solution? Increase vegetation or tree canopy, perhaps. Just an idea, but it could work. our proposed solution. What we did is created a website and used satellite data imagery, and eventually we'll use live data imagery to propose solutions on how we can mitigate heat events. And Rishi.
So we decided to design a website to illustrate all the findings that we had. In the website, we start with the About Us page, which stated what NASA in the Hood is about. And then we had a background page where we included findings, including the heat map from NASA's World View website, additional heat maps, and also tree canopy maps from Google's analytical website. And then in the gallery, we also have images of other locations that have been affected by heat waves from various locations like Portugal, Spain, Northern California, British Columbia, and etc. And then for our proposed solution, we've already told you our first proposed solution was education and awareness. We understand that can only go as so far. So our next proposed solution was a donation page. Welcome to NASA's In the Hood tree planting initiative. In this initiative, we plan to plant trees, be able to combat the effects of heat waves in various locations. And the way we're going to do this is through donations. And I know that donations, it may sound, a lot of people talk about donations, that's why we want to add a level of transparency to it. Through this transparency, we're planning to add an app to our initiative. So when you make a donation for a tree, you then can monitor the progress of your tree through the app. You can look at the total investment that you've made. You can also look at the progress of your tree. And then you can also look at the satellite coverage through satellite imaging from the NASA's resources, be able to see a time lapse of your tree from 0% to 100%. We're also planning that for all trees planted, we use a bamboo nameplate, a name placer, first for eco-friendly advantages, but also to have a sense of ownership to your tree.
NASA in the Hood, we're bringing satellite data imagery to the Hood to improve quality of life on Earth from space. Thank you.
Thank you. Judges?
Thank you. That was a really engaging idea. I have a question for you about actually planting trees in urban areas. Sometimes the land can be very expensive. Do you have any ideas about how you would acquire the land so that you could plant trees on it instead of using it for another purpose like a parking lot?
At first, we were thinking about maybe purchasing designated lands, and then on that land, we have each plot that people can purchase their tree in that sense. So there'll be designated lands for our site, for our NASA and the neighborhood site that we'll purchase through the donations to be able to, and then on that land, each plot will be designated to each donor.
I guess to expand on that point, because it is a good point, was there any thought about how you might engage with local elected officials or city policy planners with the data you have to try and make these changes, especially in urban areas where the heat is is a bigger problem?
Absolutely, front and center. And those three hoods, or I should say the hoods that I talked about in the Portland Mission area, there are three that are greatly affected, and it's called Lance Park Roads and Hazelwood. I'm from there, so I know the hood very well. Those areas are horrible. There's no trees, everything's close together, everything's concrete. I-5 goes right through. And it's a very, very poorly zoned area, for sure. But I'll say the county down there is proactive about it, or wants to be proactive about it. And absolutely, socio-economic issues affect that area very, very much so. And hey, reality is people die when it gets hot. So approaching the local government is front and center, absolutely.
And another part of our proposed solution was actually implementing a filter system for various real estate websites, for example, Zillow, where it actually shows tree canopy as a filter. So then people, before, when they're going for property searching, they're able to see areas with a large amount of tree canopy and low amount of tree canopy, and through algorithms and calculations, they'll see how that might affect them during heat waves. And that, I think that will then offset the balance of people who then want to be seeking areas of high tree canopies. So I think the government will then look into investing in areas of low tree canopies to be able to increase the residential life in those areas as well.
Thank you very much, NASA in the Hood. CZ Data, you are up. CZ Data, you are up. STEMIs ++, you are on deck. STEMIs ++, you are on deck.
You want it on deck over there?
Doesn't matter. Just be aware that you're up next.
Hello, I'm Kyle, this is Yisa, this is Rio, and we're CZ Data. So our mission is to simplify the intricate world of data for children through a easy-to-use, interactive world mapping application. So navigating vast libraries of data sets like data.gov and NASA's data sets require not just curiosity, but also a level of technical proficiency that young learners often lack. The absence of user-friendly interfaces and interactive tools make exploring these databases an overwhelming task. This complexity hampers educational initiatives, hindering the potential of developing vital skills in data analysis and critical thinking among the younger generation. And then here's just a screenshot of NASA's Earth Data website. If you guys worked with map data before, you probably recognize this, but it's very difficult, or not very difficult, but it's just very complex and hard to navigate for first-time users.
So for target audience, our primary audience includes children and young learners who struggle with accessing and understanding vast data sets. Additionally, educators and researchers who aim at simplify the learning process for their students will greatly benefit from our solution. And for mission and vision, our platform won't just be a data repository. It's set to be an open space where users, particularly kids, can dive into the mysteries and facts of our Earth and beyond, and investigating correlations, visualizing data through world maps, and tracking changes over time with interactive sliders. And for vision, CZ Data offers an intuitive mapping tool with a unique commanding feature, enabling users, especially children, to engage collaboratively with the data. And we foster interactive learning, allowing seamless discussions and knowledge sharing, and making the world of data accessible and engaging for young learners.
The current issues lies in the complexity of available data sets from data.gov, like in NASA, and it's really hard for children to actually navigate and just look at the data, and even for college students like us. And we found that there's a lack of user-friendly platforms that are enable effortless comparison, correlations, and collaboration. So helping children understanding these data sets help their fostering their interest in science, technology, STEM stuff, and to foster the development of an open science community. It's crucial to actively engage and include younger generation in this endeavor. Here's our demo. Here's a demo, and log in by clicking here to log in. Username or password if we have a connection with Google, use Google account. And then on the left side is the nav bar. We have
Yeah, well, we're running for time, but this is basically the idea is that you would have a list of your databases here that would be from NASA and DataGov, and then you could like click here and stack and layer them on top of each other and compare, and as well as like some commenting systems for it. Like these would be comments that you could click on, and you could view like discussions and stuff about specific areas. But yeah.
oh, there's a comment over there, and you can just communicate with people all over the world. Also, it's beneficial for people who do homeschool.
That's pretty much.
Thank you for your demo. That was really exciting to see. I'm curious if a student or someone who's using your website wants to take the next step and actually download that data so that they can use it. Do you offer a means to do that, or would you then point them back to the source?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yeah, I think how it would work is if they wanted to, if they wanted to see the data, then we would just point them to the source and then go further with the data there.
Alrighty, thank you very much, CZ Data. And last but not least, STEMIs++. STEMIs++, come on up. And confirm all teams, all teams have gone besides STEMIs++, correct? Alright, just making sure. We have 11. Yeah.
This is the one for the audio.
Yep. Or I don't know if I go for 2 chords for audio.
Can everybody hear me okay without a mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, people rarely complain that I'm too quiet. So, okie dokie. We are Team STEMIs, Michael, Akash, and Vignesh, who are the core of this, the most amazing people I've worked with. And our challenge was the wildfire management, and what we came up with is LOLA, which is low ability, low availability. So when we get into it, the driving forces confronting us as tech development people, the world's on fire, like that Maui disaster. The globe is getting older. FBI complains about population explosion. The simple fact is, in almost every country in the world, population pump is moving into senior. So you're all going to be senior citizens or approaching. So that's an inevitable. High tech caters to the profit. So $8,000 HoloLens and 5G and all of that stuff. When it's forgotten, our rural communities are ignored. There's a big hole right there. So, our constraints, low bandwidth, no or low cell connections, and maybe no broadband. Low ability, when you get old, as daily caregiver for my mom for 15 years. Her hands couldn't work tablets, her eyesight was going. There's all sorts of things that make our tech devices difficult to use. So what we ended up looking at is these feature phones. Remember the old Nokias? The battery would last 3 weeks. Well, in large portions of the world, the feature phones are still, for those very same reasons, we're used. And if you just think of those cricket phones the senior citizens use, it's a keypad and a couple of specialized buttons, no smart screen. So what we did is we developed this NASA firms to voicemail pipeline using open source projects, various sorts like QGIS, Proj, Node, Turf, and open data. The NASA firms data sets, USGS national map, Washington State is a big leader in open data, Department of Transportation and Department of Natural Resources. The whiteboard here is the unfolding of our thinking as we went stepwise through this. And these guys were awesome in being able to pivot, explore, look at 500 different open source projects, pick the best one. So although in the end it's extremely simple, the process of getting to simple was pretty complicated. So next slide, please. So how it works is there's a home point, the elderly grandma in a wheelchair in a rest home in a village which now has an approaching wildfire as seen on. So we take each of those points, shoot a vector at it, and then we find the maximum and the minimum vector, and then the vector to the closest on the front, and then what it does is it generates this text, fire hazards, from the left, giving a distance and a bearing. If you ever navigate through the woods, that's how you find things. And then it plays. Did you connect both cables?
85 degrees. Range 2.7 kilometers closest to true bearing 65 degrees. Range 1.1 kilometers.
And so that goes into the voicemail box of somebody. They may not even have to own a phone. They can borrow somebody's phone. We can build micro communities around this asynchronous voice technology to service lots of people that aren't tech capable. What we're going to do is revenue markets first, fund the nonprofit markets, use a foundation, open source community model to fund this thing going forward. So thank you very much. Thank you for thank you for these two.
When you say shoot vectors, Adam, where are you actually collecting the data for this?
So firms gives a lat, a long, and then some sensor level.
Okay.
It's a dot, and it basically is an array of dots for the world, so to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I might have missed it on the last slide, but do you have a plan for how you would onboard people, especially in the more rural communities where they might?
Oh, get them on board. Trust is everything. So I have an open invitation to a bar stool in a small town in Idaho where the sheriff and the volunteer fire, you just need one dedicated beta customer that is a credible endorsement, and then it flows from, in my opinion, anyway. Any other questions?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Can we get one more round of applause for all of our presenters? All of our presenters. So the cool thing about a hackathon is not just the fact that you're developing these amazing applications, it's the fact that you're getting up here and actually pitching it and presenting it. That is being able to succinctly describe your ideas and communicate the passion and the plans that you have quickly to other people is a very important skill, and that'll get you far in life. And the way you get better at that is practice, by continuing to do these things. So excellent, excellent job to everybody. Now at this point, the judges are going to go into the judges' chambers and start tallying scores and start running, figuring out who the awards are going to be. So we'll give them a little bit of time to do that. But in the meantime, we have a little bit more information for you guys, and we have some raffles to do. So let me hook up my computer now, since it's my turn to present again.